Optimism has pumped 500% since July 13th. But should we still be optimistic about the near future price, or should we anticipate a correction where the market is likely to move sideways to down? Well, I'm going to share with you a pattern that most people miss that is high probability that indicates that we're going to see sideways to down. So let's dive straight into optimism. Now, for those that don't know, Optimism is a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum. So it's quite worth having a read of the website because there's been quite a lot of work being done, but it hasn't been out that long in terms of the price data. So when I go to CoinMarketCap, what we can see is the top 100 coin. The market cap is $500 million, and the volume is insane. The volume is it's basically 130% of its market cap. In other words, 600 million for a market cap of 400. So a lot of eyeballs on Optimism. But what we want to do today is I want to look at the price action. There's a couple of factors that are really playing out that I want to identify for you in detail. So we're going to our live chart on a daily. We're using TradingView for Optimism. And do you see any particular pattern unfolding? Now, if you've been watching my stuff for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of Elliott wave theory because it really tells us the psychological mood of buying and selling behavior. And you can actually now get some training for as little as £1, little as £1. In my R15 Crypto Gym, you get a 30-day trial for £1. But what I want to show you is you actually get a 7-day bootcamp. And in the bootcamp, on day one, you get some of my lessons for free or practically for free. And I want to show you this over here. Markets move in 5s and 3s. And what we always want to be looking for from a psychological perspective is there a 5-wave sequence? If there is a clear 5-wave sequence, what tends to follow is a 3-wave correction. Now, what I mean by that is, and this is what we're going to dive into with Optimism, is Optimism looks like it's at this point over here on a micro degree, and we should anticipate a 3-wave correction. This happens time and time again with all markets and all time frames, especially crypto. So let's dive into Optimism, and let me show you what I'm seeing. Because to the untrained eye, it might not be clear. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It just means it's highly probable that where it looks like. I'm going to draw it like so. Let me pause this video. This is playing in the background. All right. So we've got this movement over here, which looks like to me to be a wave 1, a sideways A, B, C of a wave 2, a very impulsive wave 3. Wave 3s are typically the most impulsive wave out of the 5-wave sequence. Is where you make most of your profits. You have a wave 4, which is a profit-taking wave. And then you have a wave 5. And typically it unfolds like so. So it's pretty clean. When we go to CoinMarketCap, I don't normally use volume for an indicator, but it is true that wave 3 volumes, which is this, tend to be much higher than wave 5 volumes. And you can see that. You can see that the price has gone up, but the volume has gone down. That's also a big clue that this is going to top out and we're going to see some type of correction. But now let's get a bit precise with this as well. So one of the other things that I really like to do, and again, I'm going to show you this in the bootcamp. In the bootcamp on day 2 and 3, you'll get access to some of my Fibonacci price training. Just to really give you the core fundamentals of Fibonacci price, the foundation. £1, 30 days, you get a lot of goodies. And we do daily workouts as well, daily detailed analysis with Bitcoin and a few other coins as well. So with this, we're going to use some Fibonacci ratios. And it's really to give us the clue ahead of time that Optimism may be topping out and that we are likely to get some type of correction before it continues to the upside, right? So this is a very bullish sign for Optimism, but we do anticipate a correction. So more often than not, there's a couple of factors we're going to do. So something I'm going to do it quite fast, mainly because I don't want to confuse you too much. I just want to show you the outcome. So one of the key ratios is something called an external retracement. You can measure wave 4, and it has a direct relationship with wave 5. And most wave 5 end in this particular ratio zone, this over here. And this gives us a big clue from a price perspective. Also, we can measure wave 1 to 3. This has a relationship to wave 5. The two key ratios are actually 38.2 and 62%. So I'm just going to select those. And what we're looking for is a cluster. And you can see the 62% is right in that range. So this just basically indicates to us optimism is in a price zone and a pattern zone that indicates it might be topping out. There's a few other factors as well. We'll do one last one, which is basically wave ones and wave fives tend to equal each other, give or take. And a typical maximum is 1.618. And I don't know if you're not used to this. I cover it in the bootcamp in a lot more detail. 100% and typical maximum is 1.618. So the 1.618 is in that region. So what this basically tells us is optimism is likely going to go through a correction, which is natural and healthy for all markets. How I like to think about it is optimism has done a sprint. It's a sprinter. It's done a 100-meter dash, a 100-meter sprint. And now it needs a rest period. It needs a recovery period. It needs a breather. It needs to it needs to get the oxygen back into the muscles. So now what we're going to look at is what is a typical correction if this is the top. Now it might make another high, but it will be in this region. But let's just assume for a second this is the local top for optimism. More often than not, what would occur and why you want to consider taking profits if you're in this trade should be at least risk-free, especially if you got in near the bottom on July 13th, because it's a really, really strong project. But it doesn't matter. Bitcoin's going for a big correction right now. Ethereum's going for a big correction, and they're all very strong projects. So optimism is no different, even on a more intermediate micro scale, like more immediate price action. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure two things. We're going to measure Fibonacci time, and most corrections take 38 to 62% of the prior swing. I'll convert this into English in a second, right? I'll convert it into English in just a second. And then also most typical corrections of a wave, we can call it a wave 2, right? I'll make sense of that in a second as well, because we're going to go into a bit of detail. 50, 62, and 78.6. This is the most common typical behavior when it comes to buying and selling. In terms of the people who are participating in optimism have driven the price up. Basically, when the price goes up, the only thing that's driving the price up is there are more buyers than sellers. And what drives the price down is there's more sellers than buyers. And that's the natural psychology of any market. And crypto is no exception. And optimism is no exception. So what should we anticipate? What we should anticipate with high probability is just some simple A, B, C style correction. That is most common, especially when the pattern is as clean as this. Is a nice A, B, C pattern between the dates of August 12th to August 18th and the price region of $1.34 and a typical maximum of around 80 cents, thereabouts for optimism. Very, very important and valuable information. So you can either use this in two ways. Three ways maybe, just for entertainment, see how it unfolds. Two, make sure you're taking profits. So if you bought down here and you've managed to ride this trend, you should be taking profits. Or if you're using stop losses, your stop loss should be no lower than this swing low down here. Or be patient, or you can short the market. I guess that's another one that you can do. Short the market for this correction, but also just waiting for, if this correction occurs like so, there might be further buying opportunities. So what I'm going to finish on today is a bit more advanced again, is what most people don't realize is markets tend to move in sequences, right? These trends. And then the pattern expands and it contracts. And what tends to occur, more often than not, again, we're just getting probabilities here, right? Is the following. Let me just move it like so. When you get your initial 5-wave sequence, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of something. And if it's the first 5-wave sequence, then the something typically is a 1. All right, hopefully it'll make a bit more sense in a second, right? I'm going to draw it I'm going to make it a bit bigger. There we go. Yeah, there we go. All right, so it's a 5-wave sequence of a 1. So we've got a 5 of a 1. In other words, we've got 2 degrees of wave count. This is important to get some scope of what's likely to happen next with optimism. You see this with other cryptos as well. Then we are likely to get some type of 3-wave correction, A, B, C. but it's normally an ABC of something, and the degree of count is typically a wave 2. We put a question mark there because we're now projecting into the future as a leading indicator with high probability. So what typically comes after a wave 2? Well, it's almost identical to this pattern sequence that we saw earlier. Right? You see this on a more micro scale, this 1, 2, what comes next is a wave 3. On a macro degree, now we've got the same, almost like the same thing. This now is a 1, a 2. What typically come next typically is a wave 3. And what we're going to look at now is what is a typical wave 3 expansion. Now, wave 3s tend to be the most aggressive, impulsive, profitable waves out of all waves, more often than not in all markets. Crypto is no exception. Well, sometimes it is actually. Sometimes it's wave 5s with crypto because of FOMO, fear of missing out, and panic buying. So what we're going to look at now is just going to finish up on what is the typical wave 3 if it unfolds like this. We're just going to make a bit of speculation here, a bit of forecasting of saying, let's just say the correction ended at the 62%, which is down here. What would be a typical wave 3 that we could anticipate with high probability? Again, as it unfolds, we'll get more accurate information. I'm just going to draw it here to the side. We measure this whole move to the upside. We project it from this potential low. It's not been confirmed yet. We're just speculating over here. And the typical ratios is 1.618 to 2.618. So you can see that's literally off the charts, right? And I'm just going to scale it down so we get both of the ratios on the screen. There we go. So Optimism, even though it's likely going to do a correction sideways to down, it's a breather, it's a rest period, it's a recovery before the next sprint. So what we can project ahead of time is how big is the next sprint likely to be? Well, the next sprint is likely to be $4.13, and an overextension, which is a 2.618, is a particular Fibonacci ratio. It's $6 or just under $6, right? That's more often than not quite common with all markets, and I wouldn't be overly surprised if this is how it plays out with Optimism. If you want to take your trading to the next level and learn some of these core fundamentals, you can actually join the R15 Crypto Gym for £1, and you get a 30-day trial. A 30-day trial for £1, you get loads of goodies. Let me just show you some of the goodies. You get an invite to my private Telegram. You get crypto charts. So I'll probably get Optimism added to this as well, so you can access the exact chart that we just looked at. So you have literally this. I'll get it added in the next 48 hours. You got Bitcoin, Binance Coin, Ethereum, and so on and so forth. We've got some other goodies. We've got the Bootcamp. So you're going to get some great training on Elliott wave and Fibonacci ratios. And we do daily workouts. What are the daily workouts? Well, the daily workouts are basically, this is Solana. So literally it looks like this. It's a 2-3 minute video. And it's detailed analysis what we're waiting for and what we should anticipate occurring next. And we just talk it through right the way through, kind of like we did today with Optimism, but with a bit more microscopic detail, because I do it every day on 3 main coins, mainly Solana, Bitcoin, and BNB at the moment. So if you like today's content, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I'm here to bring you daily value. And our job as crypto traders, especially if you're using stop losses and you're shorting the market, is to aim to have an edge in your favor. In other words, you become the casino where you have a higher probability of winning, and then you just trade it consistently. So whether it's shorting the market, whether it's taking profits, like you want to have the hardest skill in trading to learn. And the most, especially if you're not used to trading and you're brand new, it's taking profits. You want to have a methodology of taking profits, because, if it's just on paper profits, you have to exit. And when you see a 5-wave sequence like we're seeing with Optimism, right now is a great time to take some profits. Unless you're a long-term trader where you're going to be happy waiting for a 50 to 62, maybe even a 78.6% correction before the next impulsive move towards $4 to $6, and you have to take that into consideration. So let's finish off a quote with my book. By the way, you can download my book now for free on my website, r15finance.com. So it's r15finance.com. It's, a lot of stuff on mindset in this book. So what we're going to cover today is, let's go for chapter 5, actually. Chapter 5. We're going to go with Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci is one of my favorite quotes. He says, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So when we're looking at, I only look at 4 things, to be totally honest. Like, I know there's thousands of indicators, there's hundreds of chart patterns and trend lines and, cup and handles and head and shoulders, and, they can add some value. But what I personally do is momentum, double momentum. We didn't talk about it today, mainly because Optimism hasn't got that much data. It's only been out since June. Look at pattern. We really dive deep into Elliott wave patterns on 2 degrees with Optimism today. Then I look at Fibonacci price. We did some clean ratios because each wave actually has a relationship to another. And if you know those key relationships, you can measure them with high probability. And then Fibonacci time, which we actually used today to anticipate how long it should take. Because I think we had the date between, I think it was the 14th to 18th, was it? Or 13th or 18th of August, sideways to down. And then if they line up, then we can get ready to add to our position or buy a new position, taking profits and XYZ. So if you like today's content, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Join me tomorrow for the R15 crypto workouts. Bitcoin is making some exceptional chart patterns, and we do a daily workout with Bitcoin going into detailed analysis, punchy 2 to 3 minutes, but you get all the wisdom that you need to take action and really read the markets like a pro. All right, I'll see you tomorrow for tomorrow's workout.